What's up, everybody? I'm trying not to intro the show the same way.
You just did. You said, what's up, everybody?
But I didn't say episode, whatever, this
no,
week.
it's fine. No, that was never the part that I was
Oh,
getting
it was just
about.
the very beginning.
It's the what's up, what's
shoot.
up. You say the
Okay.
what's up every time. That's what I was getting on about.
Damn, okay, I gotta start much differently next time.
I love how you try not to do it, but you.
It's such a habit.
I love it.
Welcome, everybody, to Spoiler Alerts number 29. I'm Chanman V and Ellohime, Eat My Diction, here joining me. What's up, fellas?
Oh, hi.
I'm tired.
I'm tired.
Yeah, I'm not.
People are going to be in the chat saying, like, is this dude high? Because my eyes are red. It's like, no, I woke up 10 minutes ago. Fuck you a lot.
Wow.
People are going to say the same about me, but
a little paranoid here.
No. I'm tired. I'm just like exhausted. We went on a 12-hour fishing trip yesterday.
Oh,
one of my mods is in town, so we decided to go out on the boat, and it was a really good time. But Cora and I were Junieless the night before because my dad, we took her over to.
Junieless.
Yeah, so
no wonder
we
you're
stayed
tired.
up.
I got you.
We stayed up all night until we had to leave here at like 3:30 in the morning to be on the boat by like 6. So we had to pick some people up.
Yeah.
So we didn't sleep the night before, and then we went and got on a 12-hour fucking fishing boat. Got done with that and got home last night, and then tried to crash but couldn't. So it's just like I'm just really tired and my stomach's not feeling well, so I'm just like right now. So yeah, but it was a good trip. Cora caught, I told you guys this before the show, but just for everybody else who's here, Cora caught the biggest grouper on the boat within like 10 minutes of fishing and ended up winning like 300 fucking bucks because it's the first day of red snapper here in Florida. That you can actually fish them. So there was like 75 fishermen on the boat, and these guys are like serious. These are guys that like bring their own rods. They got their own like tackle.
They get the actual automated rods too, right? That automatically pull in real stuff in and things like
they
that.
had all sorts of gadgets and stuff. We're using the rods that are right there on the boat, that they supply to us. The bait they supply to us, Anyway, so she caught this just gigantic grouper, and we had made a bet that whoever caught the biggest fish between me and her, she would either have to cook me dinner 3 times whenever I want, or I'd have to drive the car 3 times whenever she would want. So because I never drive like ever. Like she drives everywhere. So she won immediately and in spectacular fashion, making everyone look like a fucking noob. And then I had to drive home from the trip.
Oh man,
because
that's
I lost.
brutal.
She was like number 1. She's like, I want to go ahead and use one of my 3 drivings to go ahead and ask you to drive
my 3 drivings.
Is the dock and the port close to your house, or is it pretty far?
I mean, it's not super far, but it's like I would say an hour drive longer for traffic.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a drive, but not too bad. But yeah, it was super fun. I caught a mangrove snapper that was of reasonable size. I think it was like the 3rd biggest.
Nice.
Mangrove snapper. So
I've been fishing only a handful of times in my life. Me and my dad would go out and go fishing sometimes. Never caught anything. And then one day when I was in grade school, me and my friend, I forget his name. I think his name is James or something. Josh, something with a J. We were hanging out he came over to my house to like have a play date, and we went down to the creek by my house. So we started wandering around in the creek and stuff and splashing, having fun. And then we saw a giant trout in this little patch of like a pond that was like only like knee deep. And so we're like, oh shit, let's catch it. And then we found stuff around there like sticks, and then we found this like half of a basket that was thrown in there, and we drove it to the shallow end and then like grabbed it and put it in the basket. We caught it barehanded, and we both felt super manly.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I reached in, grabbed it, and tossed it into the basket and stuff. and then we went back to my house, and my mom was super pissed because we were covered in water and like our clothes was ruined, and we brought home a fish she did not want to fucking deal with.
The ugliest fish I've ever seen.
She completely deflated our manliness. We felt so manly, like we caught a fish with our bare hands. And she was like, Nicholas, What did you do? Look at you. You're soaking wet. His parents are coming to pick him up, and you have to explain this to them. Like,
Listen, Diction, you were born in the wrong time. Like
Exactly.
every civilization and culture before this one, in the last thousands of years, would have appreciated the shit out of you coming home.
dude,
with
if
a
I
big
did
ass
that
dick.
during the Great
That's
Depression,
right.
yeah. If I was alive during the Great Depression, I would have been a fucking hero for a whole
You're-
town.
you're-
You for a whole town, you would have been a hero.
We all would have had like a scale to eat
Share,
that
my
night.
friends.
You might as well have been Jesus at that point. Gee, that's fucking hilarious. Yeah, well, I don't know. We had a good time. And we're not big like fishing. Like, I don't own a rod. I don't know, anything like that. But
Right.
it's fun. I mean, to go out on a boat, have a few beers, hang out with people, and catch some big ass fish is super fun. And plus, we got to take, like I said, we got like a shit ton of snapper and grouper meat now that are just sitting in our refrigerator. So
You got to eat it soon, though,
honestly,
man. It's
what's
best when
that?
it's fresh, right? So you got to eat that stuff quick.
Yeah. Well,
Grilling
Cora
right
actually, Cora's gone. She's gone. She's never coming back. I
She's
don't know.
gone, guys.
She's gone for like a couple of weeks. My mom is giving us her Suburban, or sorry, not Suburban. I always want to say Suburban. It's another what? Sequoia. That's it. Because Corey got in an accident a couple months ago,
Oh,
and we lost
shoot.
our car. We've been using her mom's car, but it's a piece of shit. I mean, we're thankful to use it, but it's really, really shitty. Like one of the windows is like taped up with duct tape because it will
man.
fall down.
Right.
But anyway, so she's going up north to spend time with my mom and have Junie spend time with my parents so that she gets some time with grandma. And then she's grabbing the car, visiting her mom, and then coming back. So I've got the next 2 weeks, and I'm Cora and Junie-less. So I'm just gonna be streaming a shit ton, because I got nothing else
Stream
to
early
do.
and play
Party
games
at
with
Elo's
me.
house.
Yeah, if you guys want to come over, bring the keg. It's no big deal. I'll just be streaming a lot and hanging out. So if you watch my stream normally, we'll be hanging out quite a bit the next couple of weeks, just because I don't got anything else to do till E3.
So what you're saying is we should do some kind of 5-season series on this show during that.
This
that-
would be the time, man. This
Is
would
that
be
what
the
you're
time.
saying?
The leftovers, all 3 seasons.
Oh my
Let's
god!
do
that'd
it.
be
Let's
too-
fucking
oh,
do
that'd
it,
be
man.
like
I am
30
so-
hours.
No, that would be the longest show of our run because we would have so much to talk about.
True. But let's get, I guess, to what we're going to be talking about this week, which is Silicon Valley seasons 1 and 2. For those of you that probably keep up with Silicon Valley, you guys probably know it's on season 4 right now. But we can only do so many episodes in 1 week, and it's always good to do something that we know a lot of people have watched. Season 1, season 2 are likely one of those things, especially with them being very short
Popular
episodes.
show.
Yeah, very
Very
popular show on HBO. So how should we start this?
Why don't you explain, just in case people are listening?
Okay,
for the
sure.
first
Yeah.
time?
So the show is, or at least what we do with this, is we just dive in to whatever we're doing this week. So Silicon Valley, we'll just be talking about everything just with those 2 seasons, spoiling things. So if you haven't seen the 2 seasons and want to watch it, just mute us and keep us going, at least visually for yourselves. But yeah, that's what we do. We just talk about all the episodes, anything that we thought was good or bad. Sometimes a little bit of too much of one side or the other, but mostly deservingly. But yeah, with Silicon Valley, it's a show that's based on Silicon Valley, of course, and just the tech industry, especially in the West Coast there. And with startups, the main characters are all working in a startup, and it's written by Mike Judge.
It's got a Google.
Yeah, Google
like-
element
like,
to it.
It's
and-
called Hooli, but it's definitely fucking Google.
yeah.
Their campus looks identical with like fucking like little carts people drive around, and there's like you could
It's
go
total
up to a
parody,
vending machine
yeah.
and get an entire like Indian dish or something like.
What is it, a sleep
accurate.
pod or
It's
like
fucking
a
Sleep on. That's right.
I've been to the
right.
Twitch HQ many times over the last 6 years, from their first office to the one they have now, and that this show is very accurate. When they get their office in the 2nd season, right? For Pied Piper.
Yes.
yeah. Wait, yeah.
They briefly have an actual office,
Yeah.
and that is straight up what Twitch HQ looks like to the T. Dude. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of shows that are making fun of like Silicon Valley, like the actual like a location area. It's kind of hard, right? When you think about it, it's difficult to make fun of and like find good humor in such a very specialized area of the world. You know,
I mean, it's easy to take jabs at it, and like especially with like like all the apps that come out that are fucking useless and like people think are going to be like game changers.
Yeah.
And I like the show because it does that every so often, but it's never like gratuitous, right? Like they never like they're just like, oh, I've got this app that does this thing and that thing, and they're like, that's a useless app. Get out of my face. Like they've only done that a couple of times. The bro app, like
Nippler. Yeah, it shows you where the closest nearby hard nipples are. No, it's funny because it's hard to bridge that gap between somebody who doesn't know anything about tech or about Silicon Valley and making it funny for those people, and also making it interesting and even accurate for people who are in the space. Just because I know that those are probably some of the most nitpicky motherfuckers there are out there, like tech engineers, nerd culture in general are some of the most nitpicky types. So I can imagine somebody in Silicon Valley watching the show and being like, that's not how it is, or oh, that is how it is, or oh, ho, ho, like that kind of thing, and like really getting down, like that code isn't right, that there was like brackets instead of parentheses in that line.
We used to do like back when everyone lived out here in the Bay Area, they all moved, like Renee and all them. We would get together and watch Game of Thrones, and then Silicon Valley would come on right after that. So we'd watch Silicon Valley, and so I'd watch it with like my friends who work at Twitch or they work in the industry in San Francisco, and they never once said like bullshit. Like they're all like,
no, it's
I would
generally
look at them. I would look at them, and they'd be like, yep.
I mean, they don't go into super crazy details. I mean, I think maybe the closest thing they talk about is like you see some of the compression algorithms and things like that. But outside of that, they're just talking about very, very high level things.
Apparently that whole diagram of the dicks of the jack-off session is actually accurate. Like they actually like had like a I don't know what he was specializing in, but he came in and drew up that entire diagram. And apparently it's scientific.
A physicist.
That's
a world-class physicist.
Yeah, he was like, this is how you can get a room full of dudes to jack each other off, and no one gets left behind.
And the most optimal,
most optimal,
like 100.
We have to talk about that.
You have to jock them. Yeah. Well, that scene. Okay.
That is the best scene ever.
That scene is very good. And I remember before I watched the show, my brother sent me that scene, and that was the scene that made me watch the show. He was like, you got to check out this show. Watch this scene. I was like, okay, that was pretty fucking hilarious.
The most elaborate dick joke of all time. Like,
it took 14 hours to shoot that in its entirety. Just that joke took 14 hours to shoot everything that came with that joke.
I remember the night it aired, and Kumail Nanjiani tweeted like, "You're gonna want to watch tonight's episode. We shot the most grueling dick joke in all of like TV history." And I was like, "Yeah, no, I fucking did."
So
that's pretty.
It's probably one of the best things I've ever seen, actually. I mean, personally, no, seriously, I think it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, and
it's honestly like a kind of like an amalgamation of what Silicon Valley is.
Yep.
A bunch of people jacking each other off constantly. Like,
no, but
that's like what it is. Like not in a bad way, but they live in their own world and they don't know what's going on in the rest of America. Really.
No,
all they know is this industry and like what they do.
It's not that. I mean, the reason why. I mean, first off, this show is like perfect, like for me. I mean, because it's completely geek culture.
So many dicks. He loves dicks.
No, it's not dicks. But I'm just saying, like, I'm a programmer. I've done the startup thing. I mean, I had a startup that was based in Los Altos for a while, and so I know Silicon Valley really well, and I know a lot of people that work for the Googles and eBays and everywhere. So anyways, this show is specifically I'm the perfect demographic for. So that dick joke scene was something that I could totally relate to, because there are many nights where we'll come up with shit where it's like, guys, it kind of starts off as would you rather do this or would you rather do this? It starts as one of those games, right? Like, would you rather go screw an animal, or those type of things, right? And then it quickly becomes like, you know what? Let's do a programming contest like really quick right now. It's like, okay, who can win a rock paper scissors contest? Like, who can write the best algorithm to win a rock paper scissors contest? Given that we have some kind of engine that acts as the mechanic, just the way to actually have the game played. And then it quickly becomes like ridiculous talks that we've never talked about how to jack off an entire room of 800 people, but it definitely gets into those type of
I'm not
discussions.
interested.
Yes.
Man.
We've never gotten to that kind of point, but these type of talks are like things you can just totally see. I mean, I can totally relate to with just a group of engineer friends and just trying to come up with the best way to like just what the most efficient way to do something is. So anyways, that dick joke was so perfect. I was like, holy shit, this is amazing.
Well, it's not unlike any other group of guys getting around and talking about bullshit.
It is. It's just more
get-
geeky bullshit.
Yeah, it's just,
And
with
they actually get
engineers, yeah.
results. They get results. They have the hard math and the stats to make it work, whatever they're fucking bullshit.
Well, that's the beauty of it, right? It's like it's actually
yeah.
smart shit too. So
Yeah, he's
so
like, yeah, I
funny.
love that scene where he's like, they're getting real serious about it. He's like, well, we would have to find people of the same height, so that they're lined up. And then Guilfoyle's like, no, actually, we just need to find people who have the same dick to ground ratio. We'll call that D2G. It's like, it's not about the height of the person, it's about the dick to the ground.
Exactly.
Oh,
And then they take in
really
all
is.
the different accounts, right? It's like if it's what was he saying? If one of them's a little bit more like thicker, it's girth or something like that, right? And they were going like,
girth was
it's like, oh yeah, it would be harder. It definitely would be harder.
We got to take into girth as
Exactly.
Yeah, that joke was I remember
so
watching
good.
that and just cracking up without any context whatsoever. Just seeing a bunch of nerds get around trying to.
That was
find
like
out
the
best
last
way to
episode
nerd
of the
everybody
first
out.
season.
Yeah,
too,
it
so we
was-
had no idea why the fuck they would talk about that.
Yeah. I
And
had
then like
no
even
idea.
in the context, like it was like it worked with the story that was going on in that episode, particularly because they're at TechCrunch or whatever.
Yeah, and
Well, that's
you know
what
what's
leads him to find out the
the
super
algorithm,
algorithm,
the Wiseman,
yeah,
the
super
Wiseman thing.
algorithm.
Well, you know what's funny about that too? It just that specific scene is that for TechCrunch Disrupt, you'd never make a crazy decision, a few hours before the presentation like that.
Oh yeah.
But for things like hackathons, you would. Sometimes people in hackathons literally just trash whatever they've been doing because hackathons are usually 24 hours, 48 hours type of thing. They'll literally trash something and put something together in a couple of hours and then present it, in front of all the judges and things like that. So it was pretty funny that they ended up doing that. But Tech Disrupt is like another level. I mean, that's actually a very prestigious thing.
I see, and here's the thing: is that like I'm now in the last 4 years part of like the video game industry, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you ask me anything about development or programming or anything like that, I'd be like, I have no fucking idea. I know that when I look at a screen, it looks like Dwarf Fortress to me. That's about all I know. Have you ever played Dwarf Fortress?
No, I've never.
I
seen that.
have seen it.
Look up an image of Dwarf
me
Fortress,
see
and
this.
that's
What is
literally what
this?
code looks like to me every time. Because it's basically what it is, just a bunch of fucking symbols on a screen put in a certain way. But it's funny because even though I may not understand anything about programming or developing or anything like that, it's relatable because there's so many people in this industry. There's so much like overlap between technology and what we do that I can easily see where a lot of these jokes are spawning from and coming from. Like, for instance, there's been times where like in Vegas last year, Amazon threw like a big party at one of the clubs after the Amazon Champions of Fire program that we did.
Mm-hmm.
And there was going to be like Tony Hawk was going to be there. Well, Tony Hawk was there. Chuck Liddell. And like I went there in like sandals and like jeans and like a t-shirt. And like this is like a serious club and they've got movie stars going around and like we've got bottle service, everything. And I've never felt more out of place than in this moment. But this sort of over the top, super indulgent, like we've just got tons of money that we can just have stars show up. So like in that first scene where it's got like
Right.
Kid Rock, And it's like, I'm Kid Rock.
There's-
It's like, everybody get into this. And nobody gives a fuck because nobody gives a fuck about all the stars because it's just vanity at that point, right?
Yeah.
It's just complete vanity. And like, I think Kid Rock even is like, man, fuck these people. You know,
well,
like,
even
he's like-
even
like,
in
nobody's really into
the
it.
baseball stadium too. It's just like complete waste of that type of whatever event, right? Where you're like having some pitcher from the San Francisco Giants like pitching to you. You know, you could actually try to
Yeah.
hit a Major League Baseball pitcher, and it's completely wasted on a bunch of nerds.
Yeah, and so like it's funny to me in different ways just because I see like the baby form of
Right.
this, you know, kind of in our industry. And I don't know, I just crack up every time that they do just something super vain and just like totally out of nowhere. Like in the presentation for TechCrunch at the end of season 1,
Yeah.
Gavin Belson's like, you know, he does this beautiful pitch and their Wiseman scores perfect. He's like, we've got the technology, we've got the power, and we've also got Shakira. And it's like, you know,
Dude,
comes in like, it's
oh my
don't
God.
die. It's like,
It's
what
but
the
it's so
fuck?
true. Oh, see,
But
that's the
it's
thing.
true. That's the funny thing about it. It's
so
like, it's
true.
true. Yeah.
People don't even
Yeah.
understand how true it is because we actually got screwed one time because of something like exactly like that. Because we did an AT&T hackathon like I don't even remember how many years ago it was, but we did AT&T hackathon. Just long story short, we had a better product, way cooler product with the watches. When the watches were first coming out, we made an app for it, and with the team that we ended up losing to, ended up presenting with these very attractive female presenters, and in the end, the audience was the ones that were voting for it, and they ended up winning because of that. And so one thing that we learned from then on is that we ever do a hackathon, we actually have to have specific people that present. And that's actually part of the entire contest. So when we were watching that, I was like, "Oh my god, this is so true." But actually, at the TechCrunch Disrupt though, they actually have that panel of judges. So if we would have the panel of judges, we would have won. But unfortunately, if you have the entire audience vote, then having an actual presenter that's really good, doesn't have to be just female. But I'm just saying, like, if you have like a strategy for presenting, it's really popular, really important.
Getting on showmanship, because like Steve Jobs kind of set the bar.
We had a good showmanship too. Like we had jokes. Like we literally worked hours on even the presentation, and we had the crowd laughing and stuff like that, and we still lost. And I remember afterwards, the AT&T execs, like all the vice presidents and things were there. They're like, "You guys got jobbed, dude. Totally got jobbed," because like we all thought you guys had like a way better product, and we were like, "Oh, I know." It cost us like
Listen,
$20,000 too. It was crazy.
It doesn't matter how smart you are, Chin. You're never gonna beat boobies.
I know. Seriously,
Okay,
right?
you're never gonna
It's so
beat
true.
boobies. You could come
It's
up to me
so
with a cure
true.
for cancer. If there was a pair of tits in front of me, I might not listen to you. All right,
I hate
I
to-
might
I don't want
not.
to sound sexist, but man, there's definitely something to that. Something to that, man.
But they kind of go in on that. They make a lot of humor about that too. About like
Yeah.
they basically treat every other normal living person that isn't a programmer or isn't a coder as like livestock. Like they're idiots. Like they're just absolute idiots. Like the amount of hubris and just again vanity in the show is fucking hilarious. Because like you telling the story, like, oh, we got done, the vote, the audience voted, blah blah blah. Like to them it would be like, we gave like our best ideas to a bunch of fucking idiots, and then they had to vote
Right.
on, like, and then they vote
Right.
on. It's like, this is the dumbest competition in the world. But that's I think that's what makes it so funny and relatable to regular, just like regular viewing folks, if you will. Just because you get that kind of pompousness from people like that on the other side too.
Yeah.
Like you can feel that sort of pompous vibe coming from a lot and I felt it, just being in this industry, from a lot of people who are kind of higher up or are known for their good ideas or their unique thinking. It's something to be celebrated, but it's just super funny. It's almost like a complete role reversal too, from like the jocks,
Yeah,
used
right,
to be in charge
exactly.
in high school,
Right.
and now it's like the nerds rule the world. I think he even says in episode 1, he's like, for the last thousands of years, we've all been made fun of for how smart we are. And, it wasn't that big of a deal. But now that we're living in an age of technology, like we're the Vikings of today. You know, is what he says. Like, we're the ones who can change the world. We're finally at the forefront, and all those jocks are, you know, they're the fucking nerds now. You know, like we can make fun of
Dude,
them.
one. I think this was like 3 threes ago. It was like the last night. There were no parties happening, so we're all hanging out in the one of the hotels next to the convention center that has this giant fucking like bar area and like a couple of shops and stuff. And so we're all hanging out and we're just being loud, obnoxious, and drunk and vulgar as all hell. And sitting right next to us, it was Jonathan Blow, the guy who created Braid and what was this new game, the puzzle game with the we have to use lines and shit. Fuck, what's it
I know
called?
what you're talking about. He was in the documentary, wasn't he? The indie
Yeah,
game
the
documentary.
indie game, the documentary. So I had already seen that, so I kind of knew he was a very like pretty serious guy, no bullshit. Got really angry at fucking online trolls and stuff. So I was just like sitting there, very aware that he was next to us and he was working on his computer and stuff. And like he didn't say anything, he didn't even look at us, but I could just feel him being annoyed by us that entire fucking time.
Right.
like we're just a bunch of fucking like shows that play video games for a living. He's the dude that makes them, and you know, like it just felt like we were bothering him consistently, but he just stayed there on his laptop.
That's
like,
because you are the
working on
guys that are making
the-
making his game popular. So
yeah.
he has to.
The Witness. That was the game. The Witness.
The Witness.
I wonder if any developers really do that. Like they sit around, they're like, "Man, we make this great game. Now we gotta give it off."
Absolutely, dude.
Like
I'm
fucking
sure.
streamers,
Totally.
these nerds that don't
Totally.
know anything. Like we're just gonna have to give it to them. Like I can't imagine the
Like,
conversation.
they don't appreciate my freaking artistry and how much work and how cool it was to actually do this engine.
Dude, I
you know?
love Braid, man. That game. That was before I played that before I was even streaming. It was a side scroller where you could rewind time.
Mhm.
So if you made a mistake, you could just press a button and rewind it. And I don't want to honestly. It's worth playing through. It's like 5 hours long. It gets a little challenging towards the end, but it's really beautiful. And the ending is one of the best plot twists I've ever seen in a video game. Like it's fucking crazy, and like and makes you want to go back and play it again. Like
I like that mechanic though. I like the whole rewind. You know that aspect. Where
yeah, and it's like
was-
you have to use it in very creative ways to
right,
solve
because you have to
puzzles
like
and get through
make
it.
a state. You have to change some kind of state and then rewind again so that state. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. That's kind of.
I mean, and it's important to mention too that it got so many accolades because it was one of the first 2D platformers to actually use that sort of mechanic. I mean, you see it more often now, especially in like flash games and stuff. Like it's not uncommon to see like a rewind mechanic in a 2D game.
Yeah,
But at
It
the
was like
time,
Prince of Persia did it, and
yep.
it was
yep.
it wasn't utilized in the same way. Like you do it to oh fuck, I'm gonna fall and die. Okay, rewind. Let's try that.
It wasn't
again.
it's not a
That
redo,
maneuver.
right? It's actually there's very smart ways of having it incorporate into.
Yeah, no, it's
the
like
scene.
it's integrated into the puzzle solving
Right,
of the
yeah,
game.
absolutely.
Prince of Persia had like a couple puzzles, but it's mostly just like, oh god, I fucked up that platforming. Let's go back and try it again.
Right.
Can I do my rant about Silicon Valley now?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so
Okay,
guys,
sure.
for once, I don't have a rant about.
He doesn't
this.
have a rant.
Oh,
I've got a rant
seriously.
about this.
Oh
Okay.
boy.
I
Okay.
like the show. I still watch it. I'm
whoops.
caught up on season 4.
Mm.
I didn't put my fucking face
Yeah,
in the
yeah, shut
other
up,
screen.
shut up.
Are you kidding me? All right, so I like the show. It's not mind-blowingly hilarious. It's not like on the like the Office level or Parks and Rec, you know, or Arrested Development even. But it is funny. It's interesting. It's got good characters. My biggest gripe, and like I didn't really realize it until I watched the newest episode
Oh.
in season 4, and I'm not gonna like spoil anything in there, but it made me reflect on the show. Monica's character has no fucking agency, and I'm not like screaming sexism, but straight
I agree.
up, her role in the show is to show up and drop plot bombs on the characters. Like there are so many times in even season 1 and 2
Yeah.
where they'll be at the incubator arguing and telling dick jokes, and she'll show up and be like, guys, someone just pulled out their funding, or guys, this just happened. Guys, you gotta get on this problem.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, she was like kind of a will they won't they romantic
Yeah, I thought they were
option
going to do
for
something
a
with that. They never did
second.
it.
Yeah, and it never went anywhere. And so and like it just kind of continued. Like she has a couple of her own side stories, like runner stories, where her job's in peril, but like literally, her only job is to fucking further the plot. And like, when I realized that, I was like, man, that is shitty writing. That is sloppy, boring, lazy writing for a character. And it doesn't help that she's like one of the only constant female characters too among a bunch of dudes, right?
Yeah.
So that's like my biggest gripe about the show. Like, I still like it, but it's like realizing that made me dislike the show a little bit. That she just does nothing except create plot points or inform the viewers about what's going to happen next. You know?
Yeah. I know. I agree with that. I definitely think that she's the weakest part of the show. And I mean, we're not going to talk about season 3 and 4 here, but for sure it's gotten worse. You know, I think the show they've run out of. I mean, there's only so many of these kind of tech angles and funny things that you can talk about. I mean, the tech world's changing too right now. So in some ways, I feel like there's less of a polarity, or it's less polarized between geeks.
I don't
and
see the
just
show
people.
lasting more than 5 seasons. Honestly,
it's
and
probably
TJ Miller pulled out. He's
TJ is like a huge part,
and he's the funniest person in the show.
Wait, what?
Like,
he's not doing next season. He's not doing.
He's getting too. Apparently, he's getting too famous. He's getting a lot of movie offers, like Deadpool and shit. Like, really blew him up, and also apparently he's a very difficult person to work with. He gets drunk and destroys stuff on set, and
he looks like that kind of.
He got arrested.
He doesn't look like he's
shooting, like
he got arrested during shooting.
I believe he did. I when I read.
Wow, I didn't know that.
You know, like
Jeez.
I liked him a lot more in Cloverfield.
Cloverfield.
Back when
he was a nobody.
Back when he wasn't even famous enough to be more than a cameraman in a film. That's really all he was. It's funny because you can see that his character is always sort of got a twinge of the same guy. You know, like he's just one of those actors that doesn't go out of his scope very often.
Very
Seth Rogen-ish. Yeah.
Like Seth Rogen. Mm-hmm. I mean, Seth Rogen's kind of like when he was in Observe and Report. Like, that was a fucking, like, I hold that movie in high regard because that was Seth Rogen acting. He was doing a fucking taxi driver, sociopathic, really difficult to empathize with character. Like, he was an anti-hero. He wasn't just like, weed, you know, like the whole time. Can we get tangent here real quick to do the laugh? It was like that. And then like TJ Miller is like, he's funny, he's serviceable, but yeah, like he plays basically the same character. I think Erlich, he does more of a posh kind of like speaking pattern.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like he over enunciates a lot of words and stuff. Because he thinks he's bigger than everyone in the room. And so it's cool. But like, yeah, at the same time, it's like, that's his thing. That's his shtick.
Yeah, you've got to be able to say the name of your product during sex or during orgasm and not be weird. Oh, Pied Piper. Yeah, how embarrassing it is. You know, back to your rant real quick before we go any further. I agree with you 100%. And again, I think it's even more obvious when you've watched into 4 seasons of the show and you go back and you start watching season 1 and 2. Like,
nothing changed with her.
Yeah,
like, she just kept doing the same thing.
It's
and
funny
I feel bad for her because she's a good actress, and she I feel like she can be funny, but like her character is not only just there for plot development, but also she's the straight character, right? She reacts to jokes. She never tells them.
Yeah.
Someone says something weird around her, and she does the face or something. She's like, okay. And it's like, that's boring, man.
She's got some witty comments that she throws in there. You know, like every now and then, just like a little insult or a little jab or a little whatever.
Yeah.
Like, she knows how to keep up, but she's not the one cracking the.
No, I mean, I don't want to talk about this season, but she, like you said, she's totally worthless at this point in the plot, and I don't even know if they can do anything with her at this point. Like trying to rekindle some kind of Richard love thing again. It's too late, in my opinion.
I don't know.
But there was never a love. There's nothing ever to rekindle though, because there was.
There was a spark though.
There was
definitely
a spark on her.
Yeah.
And she kind of reciprocated, and then nothing happened.
Well, she definitely did reciprocate, but then they started working again, and they used this plot element where working together didn't allow them to just pursue this, but they did it in such a nonchalant way that nobody cared. You know, It was like because whenever what was it, Aviga dropped out, right? Like they dropped out the funding, and Pied Piper, it's like a recurring thing, right? Piper's in trouble and they're about to crash again. That's when they were like, oh, let's go have some drinks. Like we can finally have drinks because we don't have to work together. And then that all flipped around, right? And then now it's like after the whole TechCrunch disrupt thing, then they couldn't get together again. And basically ever since then, they never even touched on it. And
Yeah,
they
it's just
barely
too late.
even interact anymore. Like her and
Yeah.
Thomas
Yeah.
Middleditch. Like they barely ever talk.
It's
who, by the
weird.
way,
It's
streams
really
on
weird.
Twitch. By the way,
He does. I raided
Yeah.
him one time and he didn't know what a raid was, and he started
I
getting
didn't know
very
that,
nervous.
really. What does he play?
Yeah. I haven't seen him
remember.
streaming recently, but he
Yeah, I
was
haven't
playing
seen
Ark
him
back
stream
when I raided him.
recently. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he streams on Twitch. Back to Earth though. So he's gone for season 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just onward, yeah.
That's really tough because I think that he has one of the most interesting characters because he represents like the value that people can have without necessarily needing to be like in a how am I going to say this? He's like the charisma that can't be accumulated by programmers. Like he represents all the know-how in the conversational skills and all that stuff that really sort of, not to generalize or stereotype, but typically doesn't encompass a lot of people who jump into a lot of the more engineering fields. So he's kind of like I don't know, he makes things happen in ways that you don't really think about, and honestly maybe even Ehrlich himself would only think about.
Yeah.
I don't know, like he always just pulls them out of the fire sometimes in very unique, weird ways.
Yeah.
Like his value is there, but it's not necessarily tangible, and it gives him a lot of leeway to be in and out of a lot of these stories, or to work his way into deals, or to become part of things, or get a share, or whatever, just because again his value isn't really like, you can't really calculate it, but he does a lot. And you see that in the show. Like he's constantly fixing problems, like behind the scenes, or doing this or that, and just these little weird quirky things. I think his character is probably one of the most interesting because he's
And like he'll be selfish for an entire episode, and then the end of one he'll do something selfless to help the company.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that makes him an interesting character, whereas Guilfoyle is just a dick all the time. And I like him. I love that character, but it's like he never has a redeeming moment in the show, except for like when he fixes a problem in the tech part of it. Like he's always just kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Thanks, Satan.
Thanks, Satan, right? No, Erlach is easily the most important character in this entire show. So losing him is probably going to be the end of this series. And I mean, just look at the first season, right? I mean, the whole thing about negging and going into each of these VCs and throwing his freaking testes on the desk. I mean, there's no other character that they could ever throw that type of plot to, or at least that type of role to, right? And just his whole self-worth aspects, like him questioning that, having to try to prove himself a lot of times, and like you said, always being that kind of facilitator. I mean, he still owns the house, right? He still owns the incubator, essentially.
I feel like they're gonna do some bullshit something or other where it's like Erloch's gone, his brother takes his place, and they get another actor to basically
you know
Erloch.
what? I don't think
Please,
they're gonna do the whole. I don't think it's gonna be that blatant. And
Yeah,
that
it's
bad.
not gonna be
It's got Mike Judd as the fucking.
You know how many
director,
times they
Taylor?
tried to replace Michael Scott on The Office after he left the show, dude? Like,
Yeah, but not when it was directed by Mike Judd. And the thing about him is that he is such a great character person. Like he is so in tune to characters, and a lot of the comedy that comes from him is all character comedy, that I'd have a hard time believing that he would allow such an egregious mishap, like to allow Ehrlich to go and then just kind of fill his shoes with like some random dude that we don't even know about. Seems totally unlike Mike Judge. Like it just doesn't make sense to me. So if anything, it's more likely that they try to shoehorn that one super rich investor
Russ,
guy.
that's what I was gonna say. Russ Hannigan. Yeah, I think they're gonna
Russ
try to get him
Hannigan,
in
I
there.
think is
Yeah.
gonna become like the Ehrlich because
They did.
he
They did
is-
bring him back briefly, so it's like
Yeah, and he's still
I can
popping
see it.
up even in the new, in the new stuff. But we're talking about, again, this is tough because we're talking about like season 4 stuff. We're only supposed to stay on season 1 and 2. It's like,
But he's awesome.
Damn it.
That Russ character is pretty
oh,
hilarious.
he's hysterical, dude. I love him. This guy
Yeah,
fucks. This guy fucks.
This guy totally fucks.
It's like my favorite line. I say that all the time when I'm streaming now. Like I see somebody super nerdy or geeky, and I'm just like, this guy fucks. I think I said it just the other day. I think I was going through Friday the 13th characters. I went past the little nerd guy, and I said, this guy fucks.
Oh god, I forgot about the lawyer.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
lawyer
the
guy.
lawyer.
The lawyer is like disbarred and shit. Working.
I
Yeah.
love the lawyer.
Works for
He's like a
free,
really
Yeah, no, he's
great lawyer,
amazing.
Dude, the
The
streaming
first lawyer
episode
character was
too.
like, oh, he's Silicon Valley. He's like 27 and like hyperactive and shit.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
the new lawyer is way more fascinating. Like, what the fuck did he? What the fuck has he done that it hasn't been arrested for? Like,
yeah. He's like the greatest lawyer because he's always doing time and he's always getting caught for like the most heinous shit.
he knows
He's
what
the
it's
most
like
solved
behind
crime.
bars. so he's
Exactly,
got more
living
of
the
a,
life.
you
He's
know.
got the experience, right?
It's like if Mr. Rogers were a creepy, weird criminal, but also a super good lawyer. Like that's who that guy is. It's just Mr. Rogers. He reminds me of Mr. Rogers. How
He
deadpan
looks a
he is,
little
how
bit like
straight
him.
he is,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
come on. It's definitely there. But that's the thing that this show really thrives on is characters. And
Mhm.
I mean, that's just like we said. It's right.
Which makes the Monica thing even more like.
Maybe she's supposed
Kinda
to be that.
disappointing.
Maybe she is supposed to just be, because there's
But
so
then
many.
that makes it worse than if she's the only female constant on the show and all she
It's-
does is further
it's
the plot.
relative.
not
Then now I am.
necessarily true.
I'm just spouting
No, hold on,
sexism. Like that's
hold on.
straight sexism right there.
Hold on. There is a very logical, very arguable defense here.
You're gonna
That
say women are
especially
stupid, right?
God, man.
Wow, you really are me today.
I know.
You really
seriously.
you're doing. Hey man, like I'm giving you a gold star. You're like right on.
Exactly.
You're tired.
5
You need a break.
stars.
I'll be the contrarian tonight.
Good.
It's
I
cool.
like it. I really like this role reversal. This is sexy. No, what I was gonna say was there is a very serious commentary, and part of the comedy and the culture is it's a very male driven Silicon Valley. And there's a lot of guys, and it's hard for a woman in that kind of environment and that kind of atmosphere. And I think that there may be an argument there for reflecting that in the character as this is really a boys' club. I'm here as a supporting character, and this is a commentary on Silicon Valley and how it's mostly man-driven. Now, that could be said. Is that what they're going for? I have no idea. But from what I read, they definitely did try to take enough time to explain that, hey, this is mostly dudes. This is mostly an old boys club. This is about who knows who, and you don't see a lot of powerful women in this scene very often. Not that they don't exist or that they're not welcome, but it's definitely a male dominated culture. It seems like, and I think that that's what they try to get across in the show as well. So maybe a little bit, maybe to fault, maybe they made some mistakes with her because she just becomes kind of a like you said, like it's like the opposite of like a Deus Ex Machina. Like she doesn't create or solve problems. Like she just pops up and creates them. But yeah, it's a plot device. I agree. It is lazy writing, but it could be that they want it like that on purpose.
Yeah, if it was a commentary on the male-driven tech industry, I feel like they could have hit that point
Done
home.
better, yeah.
Not only could they hit the point home, but they should have also reversed it and given her character like something to fight for and to be more of a like they could have done a better job with that if that was their intention.
Yeah, and we don't know. Honestly, I was just sitting here thinking, we don't know much about her. Like, I think that there's a couple episodes where she shares a little bit of past, but we don't know much about her. And then I started thinking, we don't really know much about any of these people. Like, they don't really jump in the past or go back over. I don't remember a flashback or anything in the show that has ever really like set these characters up for who they are today. I think we just sort of jump in and we just accept them as who they are.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of go, okay, we're on for the ride. But I think with her specifically, I think she would be an interesting character to kind of see why she is there, why she does what she does, and try to give her a little bit of meaning. But they haven't. And I agree with you. I think that's probably the weakest part. And it was something that stuck out to me rewatching the first couple of seasons for sure, was just how sort of asinine her character is and how unimportant, like it's just she's around, but I don't know why.
That's a good point though. Like they don't dig into the characters at all. And maybe you can make an argument that that's how they're going to extend the series, is to, maybe start digging in a bit. But to date, it's so funny because all these characters have so much flavor, but it's all just like in the moment type of things, right? Like it's really driven about just the scenarios they're put in more so than character development, So at this point, they haven't developed the characters ever, like in a long time. After watching season 1, have they really developed any of the characters?
I mean,
they're the same characters they were.
Thomas Middleditch's character has gotten a lot more cocky and
confident,
assertive. Yeah, he's a lot more confident.
Okay, I give you that. All right,
that's about it.
That's it, right? Like, yeah. So what I'm trying to say is that I think
Nash fucks more. He gets laid more, I guess.
Well, I mean, but Mike Judge, I think, wrote this whole thing just to be more, like Seinfeldish. Like it's just about scenarios more so than it is about.
It's a sitcom, yeah.
Yeah, it's
not
a sitcom.
It's not like Parks and Rec, which really goes into their characters in deep ways.
Right.
And gives them background and gives them context. It's just like, here we go. Here's another basically 30-minute sketch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you could jump into Yeah, you could. So that he really could dive into each of these characters and make quite like maybe 2 or 3 seasons out of that.
I will say, I think the biggest change of character is Big Head, though. He started out not an idiot. He started out just as like the friend, and now they've made him into just an idiot. Like he's just an oblivious idiot now. And it's probably one of the biggest character changes in the show, if you think about it. Because if you watch like season 1 and 2, he doesn't act or talk at all like he does present day.
He's like barely in season 1. Once he gets fired, like he doesn't show up in the show for like episode on until he gets that job at Huli hanging out on the roof. Like they pay him not to do anything.
It's weird because like he starts out as the friend that has, you have to awkwardly kind of let go of, like your childhood dreams of doing the things you want to do with your friends and realizing that your friend is actually holding you back, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So kind of like cutting those ties loose, like in those interactions with the main character and stuff like that, you see that he's not dumb. He's just not on their level. He doesn't bring anything special. He's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type thing, right? But the thing is that as the series goes, and as he sort of leaves the house and takes up that job, he sort of becomes an informant, in a way, and lets them know what's going on with Nucleus. But not long after that, like after that story is kind of done, actually, like TechCrunch basically into season 2. Big Head just becomes like this oblivious idiot figure that gets tossed around and given all these wonderful, crazy opportunities and things just by proximity, not necessarily by merit or anything like that. So he just kind of fits that mold. Like suddenly he's just slurping away on his his big ass fucking
Slurpee.
He's the big gulp.
He's on the big gulp. And he's just sipping on it, and then people talk around him, and he just goes, "Okay, all right." Whatever, where he used to actually have opinions and used to show feeling and all that stuff in the first season. He doesn't do that anymore. He's just like the idiot. He's just like the village idiot in the room that just kind of is always thrown into all these hilarious things just by proximity. Like I said, if you look at his character, really, it changes a lot. It changes a lot.
Actually, I think the character that's probably changed the most is Gavin Belson.
That too, I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the first 2 seasons, pretty much the same character the entire time, but watching
he's had a pretty interesting arc. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, we're talking like newer season stuff already, but like, yeah, like he starts off as the fucking hand-wringing villain, for a long time, but then like his bad decisions and his cockiness start to fucking unravel his life over the course of the series in really serious ways, and I thought that made him a fascinating like anti-hero or like a villain character.
And what people
he doesn't win. He like never actually wins. Like he thinks that he wins, and they kind of frame it as if he's one step ahead, but he always gets fucking pulled back down by his own hubris.
Yeah, I mean he's like the Empire essentially, right? In this series, and And it's interesting because all the things that they do are things that you do see big fish strong arming, the small fish in the pond a lot of times, like suing, right? In season 1, suing
Oh
for,
yeah.
suing them and trying to lock them up in the courts.
Fucking Bethesda
That shit
going
happens.
around finding games that have titles similar to theirs and just fucking issuing subpoenas left and right. It's like, dude, Bethesda, calm the fuck down. You made Elder Scrolls and you have Fallout. Shut the fuck up. Let people make games with the word "pray" in it, for the love of fucking God.
Oh, that's right.
That
I
pissed
forgot.
me off so much. It's like
Wow.
"Pray to the God" was a Kickstarter game that looked like it was like a higher end.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Shadow of the Colossus, like a game that people revere and love for years, and now they get a new game that like has that framework. And it's got a cool title, "Pray to the Gods." Praise and like I'm praying on you.
Mhm.
And then fucking like they get their Kickstarter. They're on crunch time to get the game out, and then Bethesda's like, hey, you can't use the word "pray" in your title. It's like, fuck off, dude. Like, your game is just called Prey. There's this "Pray to the Gods." Like, there's no one's gonna make a mistake one for the other. Like,
Well,
it's never gonna
that's-
happen.
It just shows you how cutthroat the industry can be.
It's
But
just like
that's what I
like
was just
companies
saying, though,
run
like,
by lawyers, man. It's like, how can I respect you if that's the way you fucking operate?
That is a great example for what I was saying earlier, though, where you can see shades of this stuff in our industry.
Mhm.
It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
at that kind of level of decadence and just outright fucking filthy ass rich money type, shit. But you still see it. It's just like a shadow of itself. And that was one excellent example of that specifically. So whenever I watch the show and I see Gavin Belson suing for this or these people suing for that or this, I look at stories like that about Prey, like you said, and it kind of makes me laugh because I'm like, oh yes, I've seen this before. Like, oh yes. Oh, this old one.
Life reflecting art. Huh, how quaint.
Oh, it's funny because it's sort of true. Oh yes.
It's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, if you were to actually look to see how many lawsuits are actually out there for all the big companies, it'd be shocking for you guys. Like
You'd never
Google
play
and
another EA
Apple and
game
stuff. I
again.
mean, they literally have, I don't even know, tens, maybe hundreds of lawsuits that are always going on. I mean, these corporate lawyers are making shitloads of money. It's like ridiculous. And it's like you're doing lawsuits just as a defense for another lawsuit. It's like it's posturing, right? Like, all right, you sue me for this, I'll sue you for this, and then eventually they just go away. But again, the lawyers end up making money, and nothing ends up coming out of it most of the time. But
it's fun to see like the innocence lost too. Richard at the beginning is just so meek and so unsure of himself and just starts vomiting when he has to talk to
I
people.
love that part. God,
yeah, I know,
love
I
that
do
part.
too. I
Yeah.
love it, and I actually miss old Richard. I think that was probably some of the funniest parts, like when he's there with what's his name, Gavin Belson's rival, the guy that died. He actually died in real life, and he had to take
Peter
care of
Gregory.
yeah.
God,
He
he was
was
such
the
an
Peter
awesome
Gregory.
character.
Yeah, he was
the
an
best
awesome
part of the
character.
show.
Loved his character.
Well, you get like Peter Gregory, like when he's talking to Peter Gregory, he gets nervous because he's just absolutely tearing him to shreds, that he picks up the empty coffee mug on the table and pretends to sip it. And then he's like, did you just pick up the mug and pretend to sip it? And he's like, yes, I did. And he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He gives him this look like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But that's like typical Richard, right? Like Richard just does the weirdest shit because he just gets nervous and like he's totally socially inept and like trying to navigate all this shit because he believes in his product. And it's hilarious, but we've lost a little bit of that. Now again, trying to stay away from season 3 and 4, which is so difficult in this conversation.
I know.
But he's even towards like the end of season 2, you start to see him get more confident and everything. That's something he's working on, but I feel like it actually takes away from the comedy. The more confident he gets, the less funny he becomes to me.
Yeah, it does hurt his character and just how his role fits there. I mean, I loved it. So I mean, the part I love most about Richard, at least in season 1, is that it's very analogous to many people out there. Like many people, whether it's in the tech industry where you make this awesome product and have no idea how business works, or even just what taking this product and turning it into a business and then turning it into $1 billion business, right? Like those are stages that you would go through, especially in Silicon Valley with startups and everything. And it's so perfect. They portray it so perfectly because Richard in this case is just that guy that just oh, you know what? I came up with this awesome formula or this algorithm for compression. Now, how do we actually make it into a business? You know, and that's what all the VCs like they care about, right? And that's kind of like
Yeah.
the ultimate goal for a lot of folks. And for some folks, that is what they end up doing. They end up becoming like these billionaires. But then some folks, they just like, I don't really care about that. You know, I just want to do what I do, and you know, if that means giving up a lot of shares of whatever company, or not even maybe not even making a
It's
company. You know, it's
who's the
like
guy that did Napster? What's his name?
oh,
Sean Parker.
Sean Parker, yeah, Sean Parker.
Yeah, that like he kind of set the standard for that attitude, like of make something cool that people want and just give it away for free. You know, eventually he sold out. Like
I mean, he made a
he
shitload of money on Facebook, but
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. He dicked out a lot of people of money on Facebook and stuff.
Mhm.
But like from the get when he did Napster, he was just like, I made a music sharing app and I'm just gonna give it to people for free, and then got him into a
Yeah.
lot of trouble. He spent like years of his life in courts, like fucking fighting the music industry and stuff. But it's like that.
There's
I feel like that inspired a whole generation of like, hey, let's just make some cool shit to give to people and like to
well,
connect us into.
yeah, I mean, it's very overwhelming. Like, there's an example in the mobile space where, the guy that made Flappy Bird, right?
Oh
There's the
yeah,
developer in Vietnam, right, that made Flappy Bird, had no intentions of making their, like Flappy Bird into this crazy successful game. And you can make an argument. It's just like, well, if you didn't want it to be successful, then why'd you even, put it up on just
his
all the app
reason
stores?
for
But
deleting the game off of the app store was so bizarre.
it
And
was.
honestly, I'm not sure if it was real, if he was just like his lawyers told him to say that, or if he's just a weird person. But he's like, I didn't want people being addicted to my game,
I
which is
actually, I think
which
it
is
was
horse
real.
shit. Of course you do.
No,
Of
but
course
see,
you make a game for people to play it for forever. Hopefully, like
right,
that's what you
right.
make games for, all right? You want them to last. You want them to have shelf life.
Well,
So
I
it's
mean,
just like it seemed really bizarre. It's like people are gonna get too addicted to my game and it'll ruin their lives. Like,
yeah,
nah, this isn't WoW we're talking about, dude. It's Flappy Bird, man. It's Flappy Bird.
yeah. I mean, I remember him talking about it, and that was definitely one of the reasons he was giving it, and also just all the tweets and all the, everything that was going on with the memes and Reddit and everything.
I can understand
He
it being
just felt,
overwhelming
yeah,
for a
he was like
nobody
completely
to yeah.
overwhelmed and thought that his game was ruining the world. Like he was interpreting some of the trolls as real, real comments. And
Yeah.
so he thought it was actually ruining the world, and didn't want any part of it. And that's kind of why he took it down. So I mean, there's no reason for like why would the lawyers tell him to
It's
take it down?
understandable.
Like
Just like his
there's no
excuse seemed really fabricated and
really.
strange.
I just thought he was a very strange person, but it was an
It could be
interesting.
that too.
It was an interesting story because of it. But anyways, that's a good example of somebody who has no intentions of making this into a big business. He's just made this cool thing that ended up just becoming viral and taking off, and that's very possible today. Which with all the social media and Reddit and everything. And it can happen to folks that want it to happen. There's probably a million people that are trying to make it happen, and they just can't make it happen. And then sometimes it randomly happens to a guy that doesn't want it to happen, and you just see this kind of crazy, interesting story.
Uh, One of the, kind of in line with that, but also segueing a little bit. That's, one of the overall themes of the show is, how smart ideas get bogged down by complete and utter bullshit.
Exactly.
And you see it in so many ways. It's like we've got so much technology and we've had so many technology booms and, in just the last 30 years, but what we don't see everything that goes behind this, how many great and fantastic ideas are out there, like world changing ideas that never see the light of day just because of greed, litigation, ignorance, all sorts of things that get in the way of good ideas. This entire show is almost about that specifically. These guys have something that is incredibly advanced. They figure out this thing. They want to get it out to people, but the people they're trying to get it out to are idiots and they don't understand it. They can't see how it's going to help their lives. Everybody who's smart does see it, but the people who are smart either want what they have or want to stop them from achieving it. It's like then greed plays a role. And it's like all these different angles that we as human beings like have to deal with in order just to get an idea across to somebody or get a product made. And again, I keep bringing this back to streaming, but it's what I know. And in a lesser way, again, shadowing into this industry, you see a lot of that happening on Twitch, just like small bits of that as well. People wanting to innovate but can't, or wanting to do new things but nobody really understands it yet. You know, like there's all these, you know, and even people screwing each other over, stealing ideas. And I mean, even when like Trick2G had that whole legal thing about Sub Wars and wanting to trademark Sub Wars and the brand.
God,
and
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like these things filter out into what we're doing. Now, Twitch is a nice community. We all hold hands, bleed purple, Unity Day, yay. You know, for the most part, we get along. But at the end of the day, there's going to be people eventually that get into this space that are going to be cutthroat, and it's already starting to happen. And it becomes a commentary on not only just getting an idea past all these hurdles, but also what the product is once it is past all these hurdles. Is it still the idea that was originally thought up? Is it even close? You know, they talk about pivoting. People have to pivot, you know, their companies. What started out as this idea becomes this idea, and that's good or bad. But the thing is that there's so much that goes in the way of like a good idea and fostering that. And even if you do have a good idea, and even if you get past all these hurdles, the product at the end of the day might not be anything what you imagined it would be. It might not be what you want at all. And it goes back to that whole like Ayn Rand, like you know, like people who are passionate about, you just have to let them do their passion. You just got to give them space, give them resources, and let them create. Too much compromise, too much people's investment, too much people, you know, just getting involved in general. Yeah, well, it really ruins ideas.
Yeah, and you know, the example that they give in the show with the compression algorithm is like a perfect one, because you know, you could look at it from the standpoint of that algorithm actually can affect many different types of products, like can affect our lives in many different ways. They obviously are giving the examples of, you know, compressing video, compressing, you know, music files and things like that, just because just the amount of data that's being created every day is filling up on all the storage spaces, right? And we actually won't even have the infrastructure to handle it. So we actually need this. You know, we need to shrink down all the files by whatever, 8x or an eighth or whatever it is. And so this type of algorithm is like, it's something that affects the world in every single way. And if you just presented it out there for free, like open source, then you would see like our world's changing much quicker. Now, the issue is that, you know, in almost any single business industry, even the medical field too, it is all about just who can have that $1 billion making idea and just like consumerize it, right? Or create a single product, which totally limits it. And I mean, that's a huge issue that we have. And there's only very few people that are willing to give $1 billion ideas out there for free to affect the world and, you know, to make the world a better place. And medicine is like a perfect example. Medicine in itself is supposed to be about improving humanity. And you have all of this research, which could help other, you know, research, or at least accelerate research for all kinds of cures for all kinds of sicknesses, are being just like completely secret. Like they're all just trying to publish, right? And get accreditation for being the first person to discover this or discover that and discover that. So it's like such a selfish world, right? I mean, that's kind of how it is.
Greed, man.
Yeah,
Vanity
it's totally that way.
Show, and that's part of the reason it makes it funny, because it's so true to life. You know, like comedy is not always a reflection of reality, but it definitely dabbles at the very least. You know, so when you got a show that is like this and you see all these things, it's relatable, because you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's exactly what fucking happens. I think the medical field was a great example, because, you know, how much could we really help people? What could we really offer to people in terms of health and longevity, if we just didn't have money involved in it, if we didn't have all these, you know, I mean, even politics and everything that goes into it. You know, what could these ideas really be? But man, we create such a complicated construct for ourselves as human beings that we really limit our potential, because there's so much incentive out there that it convolutes things. But But yeah, I mean that's kind of kind of a big idea to wrap your head around, and it's funny that we should talk about it when it comes to the show. But
It's just total
that's one
comedy.
of the driving. But that's one of the driving factors in the show is just all the controversy, all the competition, all of the just every single roadblock that gets in the way keeps the show interesting. In a way, it's sort of funny. Entertainment wise, it's great. For humanity, it's probably one of the worst things we're dealing with is fucking vanity and greed. But that'll never change just because
it's society.
Society
Society dictates
yeah.
it. It's like what is Richard supposed to do with it? The first thing everybody does with it, especially in Silicon Valley, is you try to make it into $1 billion company. And that's what everybody does. So that's what you're supposed to do. And then you can make the argument, it's like if you give it away for free, then other people are going to be basically taking it and trying to make $1 billion company. So is that actually better, like for you, or if you're looking at it from that standpoint? Probably not. But if you look at, holistically, it is better for, I think, all of society in a way. I mean,
you just have to remove your ego is the problem,
yeah.
And a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people go into this to build something or create something so at the end of the day, they can go, oh, how smart, how wonderful that person is that they created this. And if you take away that incentive, it even goes back to capitalism, like you take away the incentive of capitalism, where if I work super hard and I have a good idea and I really dream big and I figure it out, that at the end of the day, I'm going to be rich and I'm going to have the white picket fence and everything I've ever wanted. Respect, money, women, all that good stuff. That's sort of the, quote unquote, the American dream. But again, it's funny to look at a show like this and get onto these levels. But I mean, that's the climate, that they base their entire show around.
I know, that's what's so cool about it, and we can relate to it. Just want to remind folks, if you want to join the discussion, hop on. You got some points or some questions you want to throw at us.
Points, counterpoints.
Yeah, anything.
She's so hot.
Dude, hop on Discord. I just linked the Discord and Monkey Overlord to get you started.
It's so funny because, well, not funny. For me, it's like this internal turmoil, and I don't care if they know it or not. But I find this girl, whatever her name is, to be insanely attractive. I forget. I think it's Amanda Crew. Yeah. God, she's fucking hot. Now, I thought she was hot since Sex Drive. She was in another movie called Sex Drive, which was kind of a road trip, Euro trip, kind of like quirky, like American Pie type comedy. Had some really funny moments, but I thought she was hot since then. But as she's gotten older, she started to look like my buddy's wife. And so I have this really weird feeling when I see her now, because I'm like, God, you're hot. God, you're sexy. But God, you look just like my friend's wife. So it makes it really weird for me these days. Whenever I see her, it's a confusing boner to have for sure.
Oh my God.
I feel guilty and dirty and sexual, and it's wonderful. But yeah, no, I don't even care if they know. She's just hot. You don't think she's hot?
I think she's cute, yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been watching through some of the earlier seasons of Suits too, and she was in Suits too. I totally didn't realize that until. But yeah, I think she's cute.
Yeah,
I don't think I remember in anything else though. Like, what else has she been in here?
She pops up as like little like side characters or whatever, and this and that. But yeah, typically you don't see her very often. I don't think she's got a lot of accredited stuff, but no, I think she's actually I think she does what she does well. Like, I think she's a good supporting. I could never see her like being the star of a show, but I see her as a good supporting character for a lot of things. Like I said, like Sex Drive as well.
She kind of got that Jennifer Love Hewitt look to her.
Yeah, and I used to love Jennifer Love Hewitt. Holy crap. It's sort of unprecedented, but I'm gonna have to get up and use the bio here.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry. I know. I tried holding it, man.
Are you going to masturbate about the girl in the fucking show?
I know. The timing seems to be very.
It would be a lot more pleasant if that was the case, but it's not. I told you I'm not feeling too well. So
all right.
Cool. I'm a victim of my biology. I'll be right back.
She's not in Suits.
Knife Light.
She had a cameo in Suits. She was like the daughter of one of the clients that was hacking. Like she ended up hacking Harvard's computers, but anyway, she had a cameo in Suits. So I just didn't realize that. But Diction, any other comments on, I guess, the show, season 1 or 2? I mean, we didn't really talk about the episode so much. The streaming episode was hilarious. The one where they had the guy that was trapped in the animal thing, the zoo or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Oh my god. He's gonna drink his own pee. Oh man, nowadays with
A lot of
Twitch,
the episodes kind of blend together. Then there's the one where Gabe gets trapped in the automatic car and shipped overseas.
yeah,
Yeah,
that was freaky actually.
that would have been terrified. I get claustrophobic, and that would have.
I mean, it took 4 days. It was like 4 days to get there. I think he would have been pretty fucked up when he came back.
Did he have water on him? If
No.
you don't have water, you die.
He drinking his own pee, basically. No, I don't know. That was definitely crazy. I'm trying to think of some of the other fun episodes. The mural one, that was kind of interesting. Kind of looking through some of the pics here. God, I definitely keep getting some of the recent ones mixed up. The episodes or whatever. Let me see. Okay, so where, this is based in Palo Alto, right? Or it's supposed to be based in Palo Alto?
Yeah, Palo Alto.
Okay. Oh, another thing. So, when they were coming up with the names, that part where he was like, he took all those shrooms or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, dude, that episode was amazing. So he ended up pulling off into a gas station and going into a bathroom. I thought he was actually going to just pull over like right that second and just start tripping out. But I wonder.
I like the attention of detail to Erluck's like weed chest.
Yeah.
Like every time he's smoking, he's got a different bong, and they get more and more elaborate.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
like
I didn't even notice that.
Every episode, I'm pretty sure features Erluck smoking weed, and like more often than not, he's got some really fucking elaborate ass bong he's doing it with.
Dude, how
and I think that's one of my favorite running gags. It's just like, where is he getting this shit? Like,
well, he's getting it from that one organic store, right? But
yeah, well, no, the weed that's all over
yeah.
California, but I'm talking about the actual bongs themselves. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I live near like Berkeley and stuff. There's lots of smoke shops. If you go in there, you'll see some pretty radical like blown glass designs and stuff like that kind of defy logic. And they're for tobacco, of course. And they don't actually sell tobacco.
Yeah. Oh, I love how during the mural scene when he accidentally opens the garage and he's got that giant, like whatever that giant bush or the marijuana like what just the lab there, not the lab but the hydroponic whatever setup there.
Farm, yeah,
the farm there. And how do you not get arrested for that? He didn't even get arrested for that.
I mean, it's decriminalized now.
Oh, I guess it's true. I guess you're allowed to grow it there too. Huh?
Honestly, like if you walk around San Francisco, like you just smell weed everywhere now. Like it's like people just they smoke
I guess
in
you're allowed
public.
just to grow it. Jeez, yeah. I mean, I'm
in
Florida.
Grow operations are now legal.
Yeah.
They didn't used to be. They used to like dispensaries used to get raided all the time, but now they don't.
Yeah.
Aren't you I'm jumping into a conversation. I have no idea the context, but
talking about weed.
Are you allowed to grow a certain amount yourself? Like
I think there's a cap. I think there's a cap of the amount you're allowed to grow with your permit, but
yeah.
And obviously, if you don't have a permit, like you can get arrested for that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But it used to be that even if you had a permit, like the cops would still issue raids on your fucking dispensaries and stuff. But then
to keep it for themselves.
More laws got passed, and now it's like they can't do that anymore.
Interesting. What was the context of the conversation?
We were just talking about that one episode where the mural's on the garage and the cops come by and they're like, "Hey, the neighbors are complaining about the mural," and then they accidentally open up the garage. Right? It's like, "Oh, we'll just get rid of it by opening the garage." And they open the garage and there's a freaking giant marijuana, bush there or whatever.
There's
And we're-
there's a couple situations that happen legally where they're like Jared gets arrested. We haven't even talked about Jared, man. Like Jared's like one of the best
He's
characters
funny,
in
yeah,
the
he's
I
goddamn
called
good.
him
show.
He's
Gabe.
good.
For some- I think that's his actual name. Or no,
No,
that was
no,
who he
no,
was
no.
in The Office.
It's-
Office is
No,
he's
yeah,
gay.
he's Gabe in
yeah.
The Office. He does have another
God.
name though, right? Like his real name is something else.
No, he doesn't have a real name.
No, he's just gay.
No, I mean, like they call him Jared, but his name's actually not. It's Donald.
Donald.
It's Donald.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Donald is his real
they
name.
give him nicknames.
But there's a scene when he's trying to do the whole pivot thing. He's like,
Oh, yeah.
like right before TechCrunch, he's trying to figure out some way to pivot, and he hasn't slept, and his eyes are all fucking crazy looking, and he's asking people. He's like, "What if you had an app to tell you if you could get into heaven or hell? Are you kind of interested, very interested, somewhat interested?"
That was
And
funny.
like eventually he gets arrested because he tells them that he got medication or Adderall off of a kid that he had at his house or something like that. Like, because they asked, like, the cops are eventually called on him. There's like a bunch of shit like that happens that I just kind of like. It's like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They're always
Right.
getting in trouble with the law, but it always just kind of gets swept under the rug. A couple of times they'll mention like there's still litigation for things that happened in the past, but it's like, all right, we're a show. We're not going to actually like have these people get arrested or anything,
Okay, so the biggest question in terms of Jared, is he in love with Richard? Like romantically in love with Richard?
That's an interesting question because because
Yeah.
I don't know what season it is. I don't want to give too much away, but Jared is a fucking ladies' man. Like Jared gets so much vagina that you don't even know. That was part of the joke when he's like, "This guy fucks,"
Yeah.
pointing at Jared. Well, he actually does. Like,
Yeah.
like Jared's a fucking ladies' man. He's and the way he talks about it is like the kindest way to be like, get the fuck out, it's morning time, like what are you still doing in my bed kind of stuff, like that typical guy. He's like, well, you came over and we had a lovely romantic evening and we had a coitus, but now I'm going to, like, I'm hoping you'll move on and you'll leave, and like, he'll like, he's like super nice. So does he actually love Richard? I think in the most intense platonic way that you can love a man. I don't think it's romantic.
Yeah. No, I think it's just he's
Admiration.
It's kindred spirit type thing. Like he just feels like
Yeah,
he's
but he
his
gets
be-
so
he's his better
jealous
half.
though. He gets super jealous whenever
He does, yeah.
Richard has another person enter his life that seems to have a similar role as Jared. And
You see characters actually like this pop up a lot recently. Like if you ever watch Veep, Gary and Veep, which is the same guy who plays Buster in Arrested
Oh
Development.
yeah. Yeah, he's
kind of
so in
plays
love
that-
with her.
Yeah, like now he's definitely in love with her. But like these characters that believe in the main character so much, they have so much belief in them that they support them so fervently that if anybody like jumps in line to help these people, they like get antsy and like they get possessive and obsessive.
God.
So
We gotta do
it-
Veep at some point. That show's fucking amazing.
gosh,
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah,
watched a
it's- it
single
has came out.
episode of Veep,
They ha-
so that's a lot of
it's
seasons.
a long
It's a
road
lot of
because it
seasons.
actually started off as a British TV show called what was it called?
Princes.
Prince
No. It was
Prime
it was a-
Minister
Yeah, it was-
Prime Minister assistant.
I forget the name of it, but then it was made into a movie called In the Loop, and that is, in my mind, one of the funniest movies I've ever fucking seen. I've watched it a million times, and then they turned it into Veep, and obviously it's a really good show that fucking satirizes like politics and government and stuff. But it also, they have specific writers to create the very elaborate insults and swear like words that are used. And what was one of the more recent episodes of Veep, that one government like a governor character who's just like the most vulgar person in the show busts into a room and says something along the lines of like, "I'm sorry to ruin your twink party, cock scraping each other's esophaguses," or something like that. It was like, it
Wow.
was such a fucking like
Wow.
mind-blowingly great like vulgar insult. And yeah, also Guy Scraper was one of my favorites.
Guys,
Guy
There's a
Scraper,
character
he's so
there's a
tall.
co-
Yeah.
he's so tall. They
Yeah.
just make fun of him, and one of the names they use is Guy Scraper. I'm like, dude, it's so good. We gotta talk
Yeah,
about
we'll
that
have to do Veep sometime. The characters, there's a lot of, you see a lot of similar characters actually, but yeah, I don't know if love is the way that I would go with it. I think he's obsessed. I think that it's like not even just love or admiration or anything. I think he's just obsessed with him and helping him. It's like if you, I've never felt this strongly about anybody that I would go to those kind of lengths, obviously. But have you ever Have you ever met somebody that you just felt was just an extraordinary kind of person, and you wanted to be around them, and you wanted to support that person, or you wanted to help this person achieve, their goals and stuff like that? I feel that way a lot about people in streaming. Like
you're talking about every
other
single
streamers.
Twitch viewer. Like that's how they feel about their Twitch.
Yeah.
Their Twitch channel that they're subbed to, basically.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that sentiment. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really see it that way, but now that you say that, yeah, absolutely. I think he's just the extreme version of that. He's just a super fan that also has skills that makes him worth keeping around and worth being part of the business. And I think that you just see sort of the fan meets technical skill business partner, and so you get this conglomerate of this or this collaboration of this character that's just like very intricate and has a lot of different dimensions and is really funny. Yeah. I think he's probably one of the best characters on there, because if there was one person who I would want to know the backstory to, Jared is definitely high up on that list.
He touches on things every once in a while.
He's got the best punchlines in the show too. Every time they're having conversations, he'll just interject with some really sad fucking fact about himself, and it's just like, it hits the joke like right on the nose.
It's like, one time I had to sleep with this super old woman, but it was totally worth it in the end. I don't regret it though. I don't regret it at all, Richard.
Yeah.
What?
There's somebody who looks shocked whenever they look at him. He's like, oh, I know I have a ghostly figure. I'm very skin and bones. My therapist tells me it's very off-putting. It's like, so I know why you just did that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I wouldn't say that he's in love. If he is in love, it's not the kind of love that you and I would know for like another person. Like, oh, I'm in love with this person. It's just it's an obsessed love. If there is love in there, it's mixed in with all sorts of other fucking feelings and emotions.
It might not be romantic, but obsession, I think, is probably a great word to describe it, just because he's very selfless about it too. You know, like very, very selfless. I mean, giving up his job to go and help him in the beginning, and
living in the garage, the server room, on a cot.
I mean, they treated him like shit during the whole TechCrunch thing. He's like left out of all those things, and
yeah, he wasn't even there for the presentation. He shows up afterwards because he was arrested. That's when he gets arrested. He's I mean, he doesn't even pee unless he's told to at the beginning. He's
so
like,
is he like
I
a
would
dog?
really like to use the bathroom. Yeah,
he's like a dog.
Yeah, he's like a super
the dog of the show.
He is kind of the dog of the show. He's kind of Richard's dog. If your dog could like do accounting and taxes and business stuff, which I wish I had a dog that could do all that, because I'd let him hang out with me too. He's like super obsessive, super nice, and can do no wrong, and then he could do your taxes and your business shit all at the same time. Like, fuck yeah, man, find me that dog. Then he will be man's best friend. Right now, they're just kind of like pretty cool to be around. I think dogs are pretty cool. But like man's best friend, you want that title? Do my fucking taxes, dog. Then we'll talk.
So the episode with the streamers, me and Nick talked a little bit about, just very, very briefly, about the streaming episode with the guy in the zoo and he falls down, he's stuck there. All right, so that episode I thought was super interesting, because they're in this position where it's like, holy shit, we're getting all these viewers, and they know where that camera is, right? I mean, they could easily just call the cops and tell them to go and help this dude, right? But they kind of just like let it play out, right? Or am I not remembering something.
No,
'Cause
no,
I-
no. I'm shaking my head.
Okay,
no,
okay,
they didn't
okay.
call anybody.
Yeah, because I didn't
No,
actually
I'm
get to
not
rewatch
disagreeing.
this episode. I mean, I've definitely seen it. I just didn't get a chance to rewatch it this past week. But yeah, so they know exactly where he is. Yet they're just like, let's just see how this plays out. And then obviously the more viewers come. I mean, this is like very Twitch like too. I mean, just start hurting like viewers anytime it ranks super super high, right?
So he starts busting out the walls, right? He starts busting, like, set up more servers and, like, things
Yeah,
are on fire. And, like,
exactly.
it's so
Exactly.
epic, too. And the
Yeah.
music, we haven't even talked about the music in the show, is fucking great. Like,
Yeah.
it's everything you wouldn't think about. And it's all sorts of different types. I mean, there's Shakira, there's, like, rap
It's
music, like
Cypress
hard
Hill
rap.
at one
There's a lot of
point, I
like
think. Yeah,
hip hop
yeah,
and rap. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, when these things are happening, like, like these endings of these episodes and stuff, it's really epic because they'll have these like crazy, like deep beats, like this, like burr, 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 like that. It's like everyone's like, oh, a new problem, like, and then it goes off into the credits or something. But I don't know. I just feel like the music really sets up a lot, especially in the scene where he just like, we need more server space, and he's busting through the wall and hook up this wire here, and this thing's on fire. He's like, did we hold? It's like almost like a medieval battle, like, it's
well,
like
the place is
Alamo.
burning down, and they're like,
Yeah,
what did we get?
literally
What was our
burning.
max concurrence, guys? Like, did we break a record? That was crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, no, that episode was insane. It's funny because they never mention, not to spoil anything about season 3 and 4, but this isn't really a spoiler. They never mention that guy ever again. The guy that almost died, that was like stuck out there like 127 hours, like what's his name? Fucking
I forget his name.
No. What's
Oh,
the
Jared?
movie? 120
Oh.
127 hours. Philip.
Yeah.
I want to say Philip DeFranco, but that's not.
No. James Franco.
James.
Yeah,
Franco.
James Franco. That's it.
That would be an interesting movie. It was Philip DeFranco. He's just like spouting off about news and shit while he's trapped in a
Hey,
goddamn
guys, I
rock.
just want to fill you in, and he's got a rock on over him, like trapping him there. Yeah. Anyways, so no, they never talk about that guy ever again. Like, he's so not important. Like, this guy's safety and whether he survives, or like, he's a tool for getting them further, which I thought was even better commentary on, like, they're not doing this for people, right? They're not doing this because they really care about people or anything. They feel like everyone's a fucking idiot, and this guy they're willing to like leave out there as long as they need to prove that they're fucking video.
He's going to
compression
drink
system.
his pee, and they're like waiting for like the viewership to like go out of the roof. Can you imagine that on Twitch? Oh my god.
Oh god, man! I feel like Twitch would take it down before it got too far. But fuck. I mean, that episode, obviously, when I'm watching it, I'm thinking about Twitch, and like
early days of Twitch. It could have lasted for hours, man.
Yeah. There's the picture of it. There's over 140,000 people watching that. And he's got his water eyes changing his own.
Well, I mean, imagine that. Like, how many people would watch it on Twitch? I mean, we saw kind of the craziness with Ice Poseidon recently, right? And I mean, I feel like with the whole IRL category now, and I mean, Twitch trying to put obviously a cap to it, or at least put an end to the extent of which people can go with just the whole in real life streams. But I mean, that could potentially have been possible, or could potentially be possible, just streaming real life stuff. It's definitely a gray area for Twitch to have to even police. It's like, what can you show, what can't you show, and I mean, there's some clear lines that I think we all can agree upon, but there's got to be some gray area here, and it's going to be difficult for them to make decisions on.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Ice Poseidon, because when he was banned, that was like in his video, that was his biggest complaint, is that he's one of the few people that are actually pioneering the in real life section, which is extremely true.
Mm-hmm.
And he says there's no precedence for anything right now. It is all gray area, right? What can you show? What can't you show? And what his point was that, hey, since I'm the guy figuring all this shit out, since I'm presenting you with all these situations where you're having to figure shit out, I'm pioneering the in real life section. Maybe have a little bit more leeway with the things that I'm doing. He pushed the line for sure. And especially with the whole airplane thing, I think is detestable. But at the same time, I saw his point that, hey, I'm one of the few guys here in your in real life section that you've created actually figuring out boundaries. Don't don't sit here and say, hey, I built this room. There's fires in the room, but we're not going to tell you where the fires are, but go ahead and run in there and play. So when he did go in there and run in there and play, and then he said, hey, there's a fire in the corner, they go, sorry, we're going to have to ban you. We don't allow that fire. That kind of thing. It's like, it's weird. It's a weird situation. But yeah, it definitely reminisces over into the show for sure when that scene comes up with him fucking stuck in that fucking place, can't be helicoptered out and drinking his own piss. Twitch will figure it out eventually, but yeah, no, especially early days of Twitch back when like it was almost like it's almost like everything is crazier when it first starts, and then all the other stuff comes in and edits it and everything. Like look at UFC, like the UFC at the beginning was just like fat guy versus skinny guy, judo versus karate, and like it was just
those are awesome days, man.
Crazy. Yeah, those are fucking
heavyweights
crazy
versus like featherweights. It was freaking crazy.
It was crazy. And they learned from that, obviously, and now they have weight classes and it's all sanctioned and everything like that. But like there's a certain amount of charm and mystique about starting out something brand new and not knowing the rules, right? Mm-hmm. And that's sort of what Twitch was. So I can see where this situation would definitely pop up in real world. Where we're all watching this poor fucking sap as he needs rescue and just viewing his entertainment. It's also a commentary on people in entertainment too, like what we're entertained by, like we're kind of disgusting in that way, that we want to see like murder mysteries and stuff like that. We watch that shit for entertainment. 13 Reasons Why, a show about suicide for kids. Ultimately, it's about entertainment. We're watching that, like we want to be entertainment. We're not watching that like it's a documentary or a Lifetime special or something like we're going to learn something. It's fucking entertainment. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, people like to watch train wrecks, and that's literally a train wreck, like having
slow down their car when they see a car wreck on the side of the highway.
Exactly.
I'm not judging. I've seen some crazy shit on the internet, and I don't regret most of it. But I can't judge. But yeah, no, I mean, again, it's just another thing where this show dabbles in real life, which is what makes it funny. That's what makes comedy funny.
Yeah, especially our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say about the show? We can talk about next week. Or,
yeah, let's go ahead.
Whenever it is, whenever we're going to do our next show.
Dismantled this one pretty heavily.
All right, so we'll at least put a lid on Silicon Valley season 1 and 2 for now. We'll probably do 3 and 4 at some point. But next week, we're going to be going back to doing a movie, and it's going to be Wonder Woman.
We're such a bunch of nerds, man. Like we can't stray far from like the superhero movies or like
I know, right?
It's like
come on, this one looks awesome.
It does look awesome. It does look awesome. I'm just saying, like with us, it's like we're like willing to go and like do something different or do a show or do like it, but we always got to come back to our relevant now movies, like our superhero movies, like the ones we feel like we can't skip.
It's our core competency, man. We can't help it.
Yeah. I feel like I'm gonna have a lot to say about this one way or the other. So I feel like I'm gonna bring some things to the table here. But I'm excited. Wonder Woman's never been. I think I explained this last show is that I love female protagonists, and I just never got behind Wonder Woman for whatever reason. I just never thought she was that great.
It's been getting great reviews. It's got like 96% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, no, what I was gonna say is that it looks really good in movie format. Like I'm sort of excited about seeing it, which sort of excited for me about seeing a superhero movie is like unfathomable. So,
yeah,
not excited.
So the question is, will she have an invisible jet in this movie?
I'm pretty sure the invisible jet doesn't show up.
Okay.
Everything else is
I think that as long as that's not there,
because it takes place in World War I, so they didn't even they wouldn't have had the technology to make an invisible jet,
biplane.
Right. Dude, it's such lazy animation. They just have him sitting in the air.
Yeah. I have a feeling because they definitely are going to do a sequel, and they said it's going to be in contemporary times. If they do the jet, they're going to do some like stealth technology thing where it like reflects the surface of clouds and shit, and like it looks super awesome.
It's like the carrier.
Yeah. But then like they kind of did that already in the Avengers with the helicarrier thing. So it's kind of like, how are they going to make it look different? I don't know. They can't just straight up have Gal Gadot like sitting in the middle of nothing, just like
that would be so funny.
Man, I totally forgot about the invisible jet until you just said that. I
Ridiculous.
completely forgot about that and how fucking ridiculous that is. Okay, so let's just real quick before we move on and we do our outro thing. What are her powers again? Okay, she's super strong, like
super
she's
strong.
got superhuman abilities, right? Like this
Yeah.
agility, dexterity.
The metal on her
yeah.
wrists can
Armbands.
deflect bullets and stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
but why?
And then
they're infused or godlike or something, right? Like
she's an Amazonian. They're all descendants of Zeus and Hera, I believe.
okay.
I know Zeus
This
is
is the
part
coolest
of it.
part.
Zeus
I don't
is
even
part
know the background either. So this is
Yeah,
she's got the whip, the lasso, right?
the lasso of truth. Yeah, if she wraps that around you, you have to tell her everything you know.
Oh,
basically.
see, now I didn't do that. I'm glad I asked it. So I didn't know that. So if she lassos you, you have to tell the truth.
Yeah,
That's why they call it the lasso.
it's like it's like sodium pentothal.
It's also
That's-
wow. There's also additional power to the rope, though, right? In lasso, or no?
I believe so. I don't know all the.
It looked like it in the previews, at least, that the lasso.
Yeah,
was
I mean, it's a
powerful.
fucking badass whip that she can use to smack these around and probably like move. She used it a couple times in Batman v Superman.
So she can die. She can die, right?
She can't die. She's not immortal.
Okay,
Yeah, she's like a demigod. She's a descendant of gods.
She's like Hercules before he went back to Olympus.
Kind of. Yeah, exactly. It's like she's got human
Perseus
and godlike genes in her, I believe.
Gotcha. Well, it looks pretty good, and I like the setting that it's not current day. I like that it's sort of back in the day. So that'll be exciting to watch. That'll be good. So guys, go watch it this week. Meet us back next week, right?
Yeah, I think next week will be. I don't know. You guys back next week, right? Thursday? We're gonna go back to our normal day.
Should be good. I was looking at E3 time.
Yeah, E3 is the
E3,
following.
I don't
we'll probably
leave
skip
until
that week.
Tuesday, whatever the following week.
Yeah, we'll probably have to skip that week, but
you know what I noticed about our cameras? Now I look super light and Diction looks normal now. Diction was looking
I
super
adjusted
light
your.
earlier.
I adjusted your.
Oh, you messed with it. Oh, okay.
See, like, I did this. I'm like looking at my email and now Reddit and then.
Okay.
I have Twitch on dark mode.
I adjusted your lighting earlier too, because you're too dark. Hello.
Don't fucking adjust my lighting.
Mad at
Not
me
you,
that I
not
just
you,
want to
Nick.
sit in dark.
Oh.
I just want to sit in darkness.
Like,
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman, exactly.
I do a podcast.
All right, well, let's wrap up. Do some shout outs. Great episode, guys, as always. Addiction, where can people find you?
Hi, you can find me at twitch.tv/eatmyaddiction1. I'll be on later tonight, 7:30 p.m. for Fucked Up Friday. Get drunk and play some party games.
Sweet. Hello.
That's it. That's all I got.
Cora and Junie are gone for like at least a week, so I'm here all by myself. So tomorrow morning we start streaming, and we'll just stream forever because I have no other responsibilities. I think I keep saying this, but I think I'm finally gonna jump into GTA 5 RP. It's one of those things that like,
oh my god, wow. Okay.
I know I'm gonna have fun doing it, but like the weird hipster part of me, or like I don't know, like. It's like, oh, of course I'm going to jump into it now that it's so popular. It's like, I'm so bandwagony right now, but like, I'm just,
it's a good bandwagon. Like people love watching that shit. If you're good at like role play, like I got into it and I was terrified. I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to break one of the rules or
that's what I'm scared of. Man.
And then my first time I streamed it for 7 hours straight and people were fucking loving it. And so the only problem is that like, I don't know what server you're trying to get on. Like if it's not populated, you're not going to have fun. Like you get they only have 24 slots because of the NPCs and all that stuff. So if it's not at least like moderately full, you're gonna have no one to role play with, and it's gonna be kind of boring.
Suck. Yeah.
Like I was trying to stream it the other day, and like one of the two servers I'm whitelisted on was full, and then for some reason, even though in the Discord like there's like over 100 people, no one wanted to fill the slot in the second server, so it was like nothing I could do. I had to play Friday the 13th, boo-hoo, but like. I had like ideas of stuff. I have story arcs going with a couple of characters and stuff, you know, that I wanted to fulfill and explore, and it's kind of a bummer.
I'm definitely gonna check it out. If not tomorrow morning, then sometime this week. I just want to finally go. Okay, we're doing it this morning. Like I don't give a fuck what happens. We're gonna do it.
Right.
And I look back at like I used to run like an improv group in my college and stuff like that. It's just all I see is it's just like you're just watching improv. It's just like video game improv. Is
If you've ever done like tabletop RPG or improv or any theater, it's like you'll be a natural easily. And
Okay.
people that have no experience with that are streaming it and doing just fine, and they're growing their skill sets in improv. You know,
Nice.
That's cool. I think it would be good. I think it would be definitely good. So, so that's what I'm going to be doing this week. Chan, tell us about yourself.
Well, you can follow all of my shows, which I do shows in Overwatch and Hearthstone, as well as this one on youtube.com/ChanmanV. Just all the VODs are there. You can watch some of those live on my Twitch stream, which is also ChanmanV. And follow me on Twitter, too, at ChanmanV. Everything's ChanmanV, surprisingly. But coming up this weekend, just not too much this weekend, but next week we'll be doing likely another streamer showdown for Hearthstone. So if you're into Hearthstone and want to check that out, you can probably check that on Tuesday, which I'll be announcing soon. You guys will get the first word on it, just a few of you guys. But that's going to be it, though. Oh, I forgot to mention that you guys can listen to us on iTunes as well as Google Podcasts and SoundCloud. If you guys want to, just put us on your car on the way to work or anything like that, just look up Spoiler Alerts on iTunes. If you like the show, leave us a 5-star review. Helps folks find it whenever they're trying to find us, because it's not easy finding spoiler. Spoiler alert's probably not the best SEO term to use, but it's what we chose, so it's all good. That's going to be it, though, for this week. For Eat My Diction, Ellohime, and myself, ChanmanV. We'll see you next week.
bye.
Bye.